The old school boxing stance is iconic. Used to mock and ridicule those practitioners, many see it as a sign that someone can't fight. But brother in Christ, could these old bare-knuckle boxers scrap, and often to the death. As boxing historian Frank Butler notes, soft leather gloves were introduced for protection rather than destruction, implying that old boxers were simply becoming too deadly. From Simon Burns' brain hemorrhage in 1833 to Tom Sayers' deterioration in health after the first heavyweight world title fight, the way old boxers fought was precise, brutal, and often deadly. So let's examine the techniques, stances, and punches these storied warriors deployed on their way to the top. Please do leave a like for the algorithm. Analysing the 19th century boxing stance, there's a few things to note. Firstly, the rear arm is tucked into the body of the fighter, spanning across the stomach region. This was primarily to protect the pugilist from vicious body shots, as catching a hard punch on the arm would be likely less damaging, though not always. The English bare-knuckle boxing legend Tom Sayers was especially adept at this, being described as a master at blocking blows with his forearm before firing back with snappy jabs. However, in April 1870, whilst fighting the 6'2" American John Carmel Heenan, Sayers blocked a mighty swing which shattered a bone in his right arm. The tucked arm always meant a risk of this happening, yet it still routinely safeguarded against liver shots, broken ribs, the vulnerable solar plexus, or nausea. In fact, in an 1833 contest criticised for its inhumanity, the last hour saw both Simon Byrne and James Death Burke vomit from the constant body shots, as they ultimately struggled to keep their rear arm tucked. Drama queens. Consequently, if a gloved hand can break ribs and leave boxers crumpled, just picture the necessity of defending against a bare knuckle. Now we come on to the outstretched front arm, the main weapon. Not dissimilar to today's gloved boxing, this arm would be used as a rangefinder, measuring distance before launching strikes. The godfather of boxing writers, Pierce Egan, detailed James Figgs's battle against Ned Sutton in 1727, which included 3 separate fights using the broadsword, the cudgel, and the fists. Figg would secure victory in all 3. Egan wrote that he was more indebted to strength and courage for his success than to boxing genius, although his perfect knowledge of the sword and stick must have given him some insight into the mysteries of time and distance. Hence, the front arm can be viewed as a saber, like in fencing, controlling the distance and striking sporadically. Now, I love exploring boxing culture in countries and have therefore created a retro Cuban boxing t-shirt. If you are somewhat interested and want to support my project, please consider purchasing one. I'd greatly appreciate it. The Shopify link is down below. Thank you, you legends. When James Death Burke met Bendigo the Bold in 1838 for the first time, he fought under the new London prize ring rules, which outlawed kicking, butting, gouging, and even suplexes. What in the WWE? Therefore, it was within your best interest to keep the opponent at arm's length. If your eye was gouged and you lost sight, the bout would likely be over for you. Wait, when was Cyril Gane born? This was also the advantage of the bare knuckle. You could more effectively pinpoint a certain area of the body to attack. On the 18th of October 1853, Tom Sayers fought the skilled performer Nat Langham. Nat managed to close one of Sayers' eyes after 20 brutal rounds, before concentrating on the one good eye left, and succeeded in closing it after 25 rounds. This would force Sayers to retire, making the outstretched arm even more deadly through chipping away at the opposition's sensitive areas. But what about the wider stance? When examining old fighters like Daniel Mendoza and Bendigo, they tended to have a wide, slightly crouched stance. In old school boxing, it was often more effective and less damaging to the fists for the offensive fighter to aim for the body, but the hands still did suffer. In June 1824, England's Tom Spring fought bare knuckle against the Irish champion Jack Langan for 49 full rounds. After winning, Spring's hands were like raw meat. Yet he had utilised the Harlequin step, putting himself just within reach of his opponent, then ducking under the instinctive punch, while simultaneously firing at the body with a short jab or hook. He was said to have popularised the left hook, utilising body shots to wind an opponent or hitting the liver without risking your hands breaking. Additionally, the wider base, as noted by historian Cassia Body, was to ensure substantial balance during the contest, especially offsetting the grappling and wrestling side of the match and being harder to bowl over. Ironically, the head can be a bad target to aim for with a bare knuckle punch. It's essentially a 10-pound bowling ball with sharp teeth attached to it. Evidenced by John Carmel Heenan, who, while fighting Tom Sayers, badly damaged his left arm on Sayers' head. Consequently, many boxers would succumb to exhaustion and repeated body blows as opposed to being sparked out cold from a headshot. It was risky to aim for the head, particularly with boxers needing to avoid injury to continue fighting to put food on the table and make money. When training, some boxers would therefore wear skin-tight silk or goatskin gloves to practice striking without causing the skin on their knuckles to split open. As previously mentioned, the tucked rear arm was vital for defense, yet after a while, boxers began experimenting with its offensive use. Samuel Elias was renowned as a vicious puncher despite being just 5'6", and would discover what was then known as the undercut. This blow would wreak havoc in the boxing scene as many failed to block it effectively. In modern terms, this is now known as the uppercut, as the rear hand would be driven upwards from its cocked position, usually into the opponent's midriff. Due to the bare knuckles, it wasn't as prominent in targeting the head, but it was still incredibly impactful, especially when hitting the solar plexus. So there we have it guys, debunking the pip pip tally ho put 'em up you scoundrel myth. But now I'd like to hear what you guys think. Has gloved boxing actually condemned fighters to a life of CTE and poor brain health? Have you got any anecdotes from friends or family members with affiliations to the bare knuckle era? Is there anything I've missed in this video? Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. That's it for the video guys, thank you so much for watching and please consider checking out the t-shirts down below. That's it, thank you very much, all the best, cheers.